There were only two ways this could play out, and we got the good ending. Hello everybody, this is the last video regarding the PTB that I will be making. And there was so much to cover in this update, and the biggest ticket item, funnily enough, wasn't the killer, it wasn't the Michael Myers change, it was the major quality of life introduction of the anti-slugging and anti-tunneling systems. On paper, a lot of people were like, okay, we're gonna give this a shot. I want to see what this is like. And there were some worrying things, or I shouldn't even say worrying, actually. That's too emotional to say. There were some things that people thought, it's too much. And upon the first day of the PTB, a lot of thoughts and opinions were brought in. And the general bigger consensus was that this was not looking good. This was not looking great, especially since when put into practice, there were major holes in the design. After playing it a second day and working on it with my chat, I came to the full consensus that I didn't think that this was going to be a good update. Specifically in the tunneling system. Now, the slugging system I felt was actually not too bad. Now, you guys can disagree if you want. That's totally okay. You're valid to your opinion. But the reason why I say that the slugging system wasn't too bad is because I'm okay with somebody getting on the ground and then having a 90-second timer start to get themselves back up. That part I found okay. It was the base kit tenacity, which some people in my chat were worried about, oh my goodness, flashlights and power struggle and flip-flop. But to me, that doesn't bother me, so I didn't care about that part. I'm going to be very honest about that one. The idea of having that as base kit was a little too much. I felt like that was a little too overkill. And I think that was the one thing that I could have reduced. Otherwise, I didn't think the slugging system wasn't too bad. Too punishing. Now for the big one, which was the anti-tunneling system. Now, on paper, a lot of this seems pretty good. We discussed this over a Rapid Main video that he had posted, and I kind of want to also touch topic on that one, is that he makes some very, very, very important points in regarding to how this system works and how punishing it is for killers. And as somebody who plays, unfortunately, a little more Survivor, I wasn't aware of exactly how bad it was until recently on, challenges and on stream. I've been playing a little bit more Killer, and I realized how much more difficult it feels playing Killer. And even in the PTB, there were some things that I would take away that seemed like really, really Survivor-sided. And even though I do like playing Survivor because it's a little more relaxed, playing as Killer, you shouldn't be punished for doing your objective quickly, if that's the best way to put it. You can, of course, bounce between different survivors, yes, but if you bounce between survivors and one of them happens to die early, you shouldn't have to get punished for that. Survivors are not punished. We survivors are not punished for getting a generator done early in 20 seconds, 25 seconds, 30 seconds. We're not punished for that. So why should the killer be punished for that? They shouldn't. That's my own personal opinion on that, of course. And there has been a situation where people have pointed out where in the system, there is a kind of a loss-loss situation where you can down somebody on one end and get the penalty because you're technically tunneling, or you kill someone too early and the survivors still get rewarded with the speed bonus. Now, a lot of killers that would be heavily affected by this, we talked about this in chat actually yesterday, the time of recording this video, was killers like Pig and Sadako, killers that rely on a power that not only slows down the game, but kills people instantly. It completely nullifies a good part of their design and kit. And even though these killers were made way before this mechanic was invented, it renders those two killers and really just lower tier killers completely unplayable in a scenario where even the maps, which in this PTB had more pallets in the dead zones, completely unusable to the point where it would just feel miserable. And I asked some people in my chat, if you're playing a lower tier killer, I do have people who play, killers like Trapper, Ghostface, things of that nature, where killers of that nature, Sadako, that need help in perks to become viable. Behavior did say that there are killers that need the perks to survive, and if you are to get rid of certain things in playstyles that these killers need to rely on, you're essentially making those killers unusable, or at least even more difficult than they are to play as. I think that the tunneling system needs a lot more work. I was okay with incentivizing unique hooks instead of constantly tunneling somebody out. I was okay with the what was it, the evasion or the elusive status effect. I thought that was a pretty decent idea. I think there's some merit to where that can go. Where I think the elusive kind of went a little overboard was the lack of information that the killer had of the unhook when the unhook happens. And if you had somebody with like Deli or Second Wind or something, that inadvertently kind of gave a buff to some of those perks. And it also made things a little bit confusing for the killer, especially if the killer couldn't find anyone after hooking somebody, and the next person that you'd want to go for, who is not the unhooked, is the unhooker. And by that point, you would lose both of them and lose a tremendous amount of pressure as the killer, especially one that does not have good map pressure and does not have a speed boost. Characters like Blight, Hillbilly, Dracula, what have you. Killers that just lack map pressure and need some kind of constant momentum to keep themselves in the game, to keep up with it, considering how quickly games can be when you have a good team that you're going against. That's just reality. And a lot of times those weaker tier killers are going to have an extremely hard time and show their weak side and how poorly they can handle that situation a lot. And so now we come to the conclusion part. And I wanted to give this video a couple more days to see what behavior would post, and to my surprise, they actually posted something just today. And they said this, and I'm going to post this up here for you guys. Before we break for our weekend, we wanted to update folks on the ongoing PTB discussions, which we've been following very closely since last week's dev update. We have heard you clearly that the current implementation of the tunneling reduction and slugging reduction systems players have been testing for this week feels too punishing for killers. For the release of Sinister Grace, we will hold back those features and the associated perk changes to iterate on some adjustments based on your feedback. We will test these features again in upcoming PTB, and will release them live when we believe that they are ready. Thank you for participation in our critical testing process, and stay tuned for future updates. Now, this post, straight out, it says, okay, well, we got your feedback, and we're going to make some changes. But what are those changes? I kind of want to know a little bit more in depth of what they're going to focus on for the next PTB. The next PTB, we're not going to see this for quite some time. Again, it was delayed. Much like this PTB, which I'm glad it was delayed, don't get me wrong, and I'm glad that that happened. But I want to know more. What are they going to look at in this scenario? Are they going to look at the positives or the negatives? Are they just going to scrap the whole thing completely and start from scratch? I don't know. And I wish I did, honestly. It's vague at best when it comes to saying what they're going to be looking at. We know that they're going to look at the slugging and tunneling. Okay, that's a given. But what parts are you going to look at? Are you going to look at the whole thing as a whole? Are you going to look at the things that people had very much big concern about, and things that all they needed to do was just kind of either tweak or remove, which is interesting. So I'm having a little bit of a tough time understanding why not just give us a little more information of this? Why hold back so much information? That's my take from this post. But I did say this on stream yesterday that I foresaw two things. One, they go with it with some small tweaks, or two, because the feedback is so large, they don't come out with that at all, make a normal push of an update, we get a new killer, reworked Michael Myers, and we go on from there, wait for the next playtest build. And that's exactly what happened. And I'm honestly at all not surprised by this. A lot of people, especially higher level streamers, have said that this feels weird. This does not feel rewarding for killer. You should have fun playing both sides. And I am more to the side where I feel like the power role that's supposed to be the killer, because again, you are the force that moves the game, that stops the other team from doing their objective, feels flipped around. It feels like the survivors have more of a power role than the killer does, which is a little weird if you think about it. I would have to agree with that. And as playing a survivor, it's gotten easier and easier playing survivor, almost to the point where it's like I'm not even getting a chase anymore. And sometimes if I'm in a match, the first chase takes so long that by the time the person gets the first hook, I'm already down with 3 gens, and the third one's about to pop, so technically 2 gens if I'm going in an average match in live Dead by Daylight. So it can feel you can feel it on both sides if you really pay attention. One side is incredibly relaxed. You feel no pressure whatsoever, regardless of what killer, on a certain level, I should say, if they're not running certain things. And then on the other side, you can feel like everything is against you. You have to think about so many things, and you feel like it can slip away with one mistake sometimes. And although that's not exactly true, you can win back a game. This is why you don't give up. I made an Oni video about that. I can link that there. That's why you don't give up on a match. But what you can really emphasize from that kind of video is that you have to play certain ways in order to make sure. I had to slug. I had to lightly tunnel a little bit in that video. As you would have probably seen in that video, I had to focus specific people through that video to get the kill as quick as possible, or to at least stop them from doing the last generator. And in a situation where having, let's say, if I got a kill much earlier in that scenario of that one last generator, I would then get punished for doing that if I got that one kill before 6 hooks. So if that went to live, that match would have never happened. And matches like that would be a thing of the past, where you'd make that last-ditch effort as the killer to bring back the game. And that's a very hard thing to do. You need to be very aware of where people are. You need to be very aware of what generator they're working on. And that last part of the game, it can be a winner-break situation. And then there's endgame, where you can make some surprisingly good comebacks, even if you don't have a endgame build. And that was one of the things, is that getting to that last point and making that last hurrah, protecting the last generator, can make it feel a little bad. Overall, I know a lot of people are probably really disappointed in this. In my own personal eyes, I think this was the appropriate thing to do. And I kind of figured that this would happen because of not only the backlash, but because of the system punishing killer for getting a kill early, regardless if it was a tunnel or not. And that was a huge thing. So yeah, that's where I'm at on it. I wanted to give this video some more time to see where the posts would make, but I wasn't expecting this, but they made a post, and this is the post. So yeah, overall, the tunneling and slugging will not be coming to Dead by Daylight Live. We will get the new killer. We will get the changes of Michael Myers, but it seems as though the tunneling reduction and the slugging reduction are going to be pushed back to next PTB. So that is where that's going to reside until we see that next PTB much later on in the year. So, overall, this was to be expected. Personally, I don't see this as a loss. I see this as, okay, great, now I hope they make something a little bit better. I wish that they told us more of what they're doing. I don't know why they make vague posts. They do this every time, but this is behavior. They're never really specific about anything. I mean, they were even vague about about giving the numbers when they made the post about what's coming to the playtest build. So I don't know why they do that, but I'd like to know what they're going to look at now for the next PTB. But we won't know until then, so it's a guessing game what they're going to look at. In the meantime, though, we are getting the new killer. We are getting the changes to Michael Myers. Those are being pushed through. And the new survivor, as well as the perks, but the perk changes that came with anti-slug and anti-tunnel system will not be coming to live. So that's what's happened here, and that's what's to be expected. I feel like that's going to be a huge thing. So yeah, I'm not at all surprised about this. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. In the meantime, though, thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to check out my my other videos here on the channel, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.